The silence of space is not truly silent. It hums with the distant echoes of stellar birth, the gentle thrum of life support systems, and the whispers of 1,000 thoughts within the minds of those brave enough to venture into its boundless expanse. For Commander Michael "Mike" Donovan, a veteran astronaut whose gaze held the unwavering resolve of a man who had seen Earth shrink to a blue marble more times than he could count on one hand, this particular mission, STS-115 on the Space Shuttle Atlantis, felt different. Not in any tangible way, not yet, but a subtle hum beneath the surface of his seasoned perception. It was September 2006. Humanity's relentless dance with the cosmos continued. Atlantis, a marvel of human ingenuity, was hurtling through the vacuum, its mission to deliver and install the P3/P4 thrust segment, complete with its vast solar arrays, to the International Space Station. It was a critical step in building humanity's orbital outpost, a testament to collaboration and ambition. Aboard with Mike were pilot Brent Jett, mission specialists Joe Tanner, Daniel Tanney, Heidi Stephanician Piper, and Steve McLean, a Canadian astronaut. They were a seasoned crew, a well-oiled machine, each a pinnacle of human dedication and intellect. The initial days of the mission had unfolded with textbook precision, a choreography of maneuvers and deployments executed flawlessly against the breathtaking backdrop of Earth's ever-changing tapestry. Mike remembered the first time he saw Earth from orbit, a decade ago. The profound sense of insignificance and interconnectedness had hit him with the force of a physical blow. It was a feeling that never truly faded, a quiet reverence that underscored every moment he spent suspended between the world he knew and the infinite mystery beyond. This time, the mission felt like coming home in a way, to a place where he truly belonged, where the boundaries of human achievement were constantly pushed. The work was arduous, demanding precision and endurance. Extravehicular activities, or EVAs, were particularly taxing. Heidi and Joe, alongside Daniel, had spent hours outside, wrestling with massive components, their gloved hands a delicate extension of the shuttle's robotic arm, their movements a slow ballet in the unforgiving glare of the sun. Inside, Mike and Brent managed the shuttle's intricate systems, their fingers dancing across control panels, their voices calm and measured over the comms. Steve McLean, the Canadian, was a maestro on the robotic arm, his precision legendary. They were a team, a family forged in the crucible of extraordinary circumstances. Then came the night, or what passed for night in orbit. The period when the sun dipped below the Earth's horizon, plunging them into shadow. It was during one of these orbital sunsets, a moment when the Earth's limb glowed with a fiery orange and deep violet, that the first stirrings of the inexplicable began. Mike was at the observation window, taking a moment to himself, gazing out at the star-dusted velvet beyond. He'd seen space junk before, fleeting glints of discarded satellites or booster fragments, ghostly reminders of humanity's cluttered cosmic highway. But this was different. He saw them first as faint, flickering pinpricks of light, not reflecting sunlight like ordinary debris, but emitting a subtle internal luminescence. They moved with an unsettling fluidity, not following predictable orbital mechanics. They seemed to dance, to drift, to accelerate and decelerate with an unnatural grace. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, assuming fatigue or a trick of the light. But they remained. 3 distinct objects, no, for perhaps 5, swirling in an eerie ballet just beyond the reach of his rational comprehension. A knot tightened in his stomach, a sensation he hadn't felt since his early days as a test pilot, pushing the envelope of an experimental aircraft. This wasn't a mechanical failure, not a system anomaly. This was something else. He reached for the comms, his voice a little more clipped than usual. "Houston, Atlantis. Commander Donovan. I'm observing some unidentifiable objects off our starboard bow. Requesting visual confirmation and telemetry cross-check." A pause, the familiar crackle of static. Then the calm, reassuring voice of Capcom Mark Polanski. "Roger that, Atlantis. Stand by. We're checking our sensors." Mike didn't wait. He called out to Brent, who was reviewing mission data nearby. "Brent, get over here. Take a look at this." Brent, usually unflappable, squinted through the window. His eyes widened slightly. "Whoa, what are those?" "They're not on any manifests." The objects continued their peculiar dance. They were too far to discern any specific shape, but their movement, that intelligent, almost inquisitive drift, was unnerving. They weren't random. They weren't debris. The tension in the shuttle began to rise, a silent, pervasive hum that competed with the spacecraft's own machinery. The other crew members were alerted. Joe Tanner, just back from an EVA, peered intently, his face grim. Heidi, usually so outwardly composed, murmured, "Incredible." Daniel and Steve exchanged glances, their scientific minds scrambling for a logical explanation that simply wasn't presenting itself. "Atlantis, Houston. We're not picking up anything anomalous on our tracking. No known objects in your vicinity consistent with your description. Polanski's voice was calm, but Mike could detect the faint tremor of surprise, perhaps even apprehension in his tone. Negative, Houston. They are definitely here, Mike insisted, his eyes glued to the phenomenon. They are maneuvering. They're not passive. A longer pause. Then the voice of the flight director came on, a new, more authoritative tone. Atlantis, maintain observation. Continue to record all data. Do not approach or attempt communication. The unspoken implication hung heavy in the air. Do not provoke. This was the struggle, the first turning point. The rational mind, trained in physics, engineering, and the predictable laws of the universe, clashed violently with the inexplicable reality unfolding before their very eyes. They were astronauts, scientists, problem solvers. And this was a problem without a known solution. Hours bled into what passed for days in their orbital existence. The objects, once seen, became an unsettling constant. They didn't come closer, nor did they retreat completely. They maintained a respectful yet unnerving distance, observing perhaps just as the astronauts were observing them.
Hey there. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our exciting adventures. Now let's get back to the mystery.
The crew's initial fascination gave way to a quiet, almost spiritual dread. Were they alone? The question, a philosophical cornerstone of humanity, was no longer theoretical. It was a tangible, glittering reality just outside their reinforced windows. The struggle intensified, not just external but internal. Each astronaut grappled with their own beliefs, their own understanding of their place in the cosmos. For Mike, a man who had always grounded himself in data and observable facts, this was a profound challenge. He felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. Fear of the unknown, certainly, but also the exhilarating possibility of discovery, of being at the precipice of something truly paradigm-shifting. He found himself spending every available moment at the window, not just observing but meditating, trying to understand, trying to connect. He felt a deep, almost primal urge to communicate, to reach out across the void to these silent witnesses. The conversations with Houston became more frequent, more intense. The official line remained: unidentified objects, likely space junk, perhaps anomalous reflections, or even ice crystals shed from the shuttle. But the conviction in Polanski's voice, once so steady, had begun to waver. The telemetry, despite their official stance, continued to show nothing. But their eyes, their trained, experienced eyes, told a different story. "Mike, are you sure these aren't just really peculiar glints?" Brent asked one morning, his voice betraying a hint of desperation to cling to the logical. Mike shook his head slowly. "Brent, you saw how they moved. The accelerations, the sudden stops. No debris does that. No natural phenomenon acts like that. It's too deliberate." Heidi, ever the engineer, tried to rationalize it through mechanics. Could it be a highly advanced, classified satellite we weren't briefed on? If it was, Houston would know, and they'd tell us to ignore it, not keep asking for more observations while denying its existence on their screens, Daniel countered, his brow furrowed in thought. This is beyond our pay grade. The lack of concrete answers from Mission Control was a struggle in itself. They felt isolated, carrying a secret that was both monumental and utterly perplexing. They were humanity's frontline witnesses to something that transcended their collective understanding, and yet they were being asked to categorize it as unidentified orbital debris. The absurdity was almost comical, if the implications weren't so profound. The emotional toll began to mount. Sleep became elusive for some. The crew, usually boisterous and filled with professional banter, grew quieter, more reflective. There was an unspoken agreement among them, a shared secret that bound them even tighter. They were united in their bewilderment, in their awe, and in their quiet defiance of the official narrative. A particularly dramatic turning point occurred during another orbital day. The objects, previously maintaining their distance, began to perform what could only be described as a synchronized dance. They would dart and weave, form geometric patterns, and then disperse, only to reform anew. It was breathtaking, terrifying, and undeniably intelligent. Mike recorded it all, his heart pounding in his chest, a mixture of wonder and dread washing over him. This wasn't random. This was a display. "Houston, you have to see this," Mike reported, his voice tinged with urgency and awe. "They're performing. It's like a ballet." On the ground, the silence from Mission Control was deafening. They must have been seeing the real-time video feed now. The sound of rapid, hushed conversation could be heard in the background. Finally, the flight director's voice, unusually strained, came back. "Atlantis, confirm your visual feed. Are you experiencing any optical anomalies on your camera system?" "Negative, flight. The cameras are clean. This is what we're seeing with our own eyes, right here, right now," Mike responded, his voice unwavering. The implications of that exchange were chilling. Houston was seeing it too, but they were desperate for a technical explanation, any explanation to avoid the colossal implications of what was truly happening. The struggle was no longer just about identifying the objects. It was about the very nature of reality and humanity's readiness to confront it. The crew felt a profound sense of responsibility. They were the ones bearing witness. Their testimony, their recorded data would be crucial. But would it be accepted? Would it be dismissed? The triumph of simply seeing something so extraordinary was tempered by the anxiety of how it would be received. Days later, as suddenly and inexplicably as they had appeared, the objects began to drift away. Their lights dimmed, their movements slowed, and then, one by one, they faded into the vastness, leaving behind only the lingering sense of a profound encounter. The space around Atlantis felt empty, yet charged with the memory of their presence. The journey back to Earth was different. The initial excitement of returning home was still there, but it was overlaid with a quiet, almost melancholic introspection. They were coming back to a world that was, for them, forever changed by what they had seen, a world that likely wouldn't believe them or perhaps couldn't handle the truth. The debriefings were thorough, exhaustive, and ultimately unsatisfying. They reported their observations in meticulous detail, provided their video footage, and answered every question with the precision of seasoned professionals. The official conclusion, delivered with a polite but firm finality, was that the objects were indeed unidentified orbital debris, possibly ice, possibly reflections, certainly nothing truly anomalous. The intelligent movements were attributed to camera artifacts or human perception biases under stress. It was a struggle to reconcile what they knew to be true with what they were told to believe. It was a struggle for integrity, for the truth of their experience. Mike remembered a moment during one debriefing, a quiet conversation with Brent, their eyes meeting across a sterile conference room table. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a shared secret that transcended any official narrative. They knew what they had seen. The aftermath was a turning point in Mike's personal life. He continued his career, but the encounter had etched itself onto his soul. He looked at the night sky differently, no longer just with the awe of a man who had flown among the stars, but with a question, an unresolved mystery. The experience deepened his sense of connection to the universe, but also his understanding of humanity's limitations, its fears, and its tendency to rationalize away the inexplicable. He couldn't speak openly about it, not truly, not with the nuanced complexity he felt. The public would scoff, the media would sensationalize, and the institution would deny. So he carried the truth within him, a private triumph, a silent burden. He found solace in the quiet moments, gazing at the distant stars, remembering the ethereal dance of those lights beyond the shuttle, a secret communion with the vast unknown. The story of Estes 115 in the annals of official space flight became a footnote, a minor anomaly quickly dismissed. But for the crew, for Mike Donovan, it was anything but minor. It was a profound encounter, a whisper from the cosmos that echoed for years in the quiet corners of his mind. It was a reminder that even in humanity's most advanced endeavors, pushing the boundaries of technology and exploration, there remained mysteries so vast, so profound, that they could humble even the most experienced of astronauts, leaving them with an unshakable sense of wonder and the enduring question: what else is out there? And are we truly ready for the answer? The journey had been arduous, not just physically but spiritually. The triumph wasn't just in completing the mission, but in bearing witness to something that challenged the very fabric of their understanding. And the lingering impact? It was the silent knowledge that for a few fleeting hours in the vastness of space, they had glimpsed beyond the veil, and the universe had whispered back.